The ticking of the old clock in my grandmother's apartment feels louder tonight. I'm Mia Carter, 22, a recent college graduate with a marketing degree and a stubborn streak for independence. I've always believed that hard work and integrity would earn me a secure place in the world, but right now, that belief feels shaky. It fills the silence like a heartbeat, steady and unforgiving. I sit on the worn couch where she once knitted blankets, the familiar scent of lavender lingering in the air. This was supposed to be my safe space, my sanctuary. But tonight the walls feel like they're closing in, pressing against my chest with an invisible weight. I still remember the conversation from this morning. My parents called me into the dining room, their expressions solemn. Mom's hands were clasped together on the table as if she were bracing for my reaction. Dad stood near the window, his back turned to me. "Mia," Mom began, her voice unnaturally soft, "your father and I have been talking, and we think it's time for you to start paying rent." My stomach dropped. "Rent?" The word barely made it past my lips. "Yes," she said. "You're working now. It's only fair you contribute more to the household." Fair. That word echoed in my mind like a cruel joke. I had been paying for utilities and groceries since moving in after college. I didn't spend my money on nights out or new clothes. Everything went toward bills and savings for my future. I opened my mouth to argue, but stopped when I saw the glint of satisfaction on Nora's face from the doorway. Nora, my younger sister, the golden child. She leaned against the frame, arms crossed, eyes dancing with amusement. She'd gotten to them. I could see it. "You always say you want to be independent," Nora said, her tone sugary sweet. "This is just the next step." The next step. I wanted to scream at her, but instead I turned back to my parents. "How much?" "Half," Dad said, finally facing me. His eyes held guilt, but his jaw was firm. "Half." It was more than I expected, more than was reasonable, but I nodded. "Okay," I whispered. Now, sitting here in the dim light of the apartment, I try to process what happened. It's not just the money, it's what it represents. My family thinks I'm irresponsible. Nora has convinced them of it. She's painted me as selfish, immature, disinterested in family, and they believe her. I wipe away angry tears and open my laptop. I need a better job if I'm going to survive this. The next few weeks blur into endless hours at the marketing firm, extra projects, skipped lunches. I fall into bed each night with sore muscles and a hollow feeling in my chest. One night, I come home to find my parents' voices floating through the thin walls. I pause by the door, heart racing. "Mia's managing," Mom says. "She hasn't complained once." "She'll be fine," Dad replies. "Besides, once she moves out, we can give the apartment to Nora. She needs the space with the baby coming." I feel the ground shift beneath me. My breath catches. My chest tightens until I can barely breathe. They're planning to give my home to Nora. Everything I'm struggling to build here, it's temporary. I'm just holding space for her. Tears sting my eyes, but I force myself to stay quiet. The betrayal cuts deeper than I thought possible. I think of all the nights I stayed up helping my parents with paperwork after Grandma died, all the weekends I gave up to clean and organize this place. None of it mattered. I step back from the door and tiptoe to my room. I close the laptop, the job applications forgotten. My fists clench until my nails dig into my palms. Fine. If they think I'm irresponsible, I'll prove them wrong. If they think I'm temporary, I'll make myself permanent. I will become so independent they won't be able to touch me. I crawl into bed, but don't sleep. The clock ticks on, steady and unforgiving, marking the start of a battle I never asked for. Tomorrow, everything changes. The days blur into each other as I bury myself in work. My calendar is a mess of deadlines and meetings, each hour accounted for as I chase the elusive dream of independence. Every paycheck is split between rent, utilities, and savings for my own place. I need out of here. Out of this apartment that's become a ticking time bomb. Out of a household where every glance feels like a silent accusation. My family sees me as a tenant now, not a daughter. And Nora? She looks at me like I'm a stubborn obstacle blocking her path to comfort. Nora has changed since she started dating Liam. She was always manipulative, but Liam's influence has sharpened her edges. Liam is charming on the surface, the kind of guy who wins over parents with easy smiles and compliments. But beneath the surface, he's careless and self-serving. He talks about starting businesses, but never follows through. He jokes about Mia's pointless hustle and mocks my long hours. "Why are you always working, Mia?" he sneers one night when he and Nora drop by. "Money's just paper if you don't know how to enjoy it." "Some of us don't have the luxury of living off other people," I snap, barely glancing up from my laptop. Nora gasps in mock offense. "Mia, you're so harsh. Liam's building a future for us." "Sure," I mutter, "a future funded by everyone but him." The tension crackles between us, and I see the flicker of triumph in Nora's eyes. She's baited me, and I've taken the hook. She loves painting me as the bitter sister who can't relax. I grit my teeth and return to my spreadsheet, forcing myself to tune them out. But I can't ignore them for long. As weeks pass, their visits become more frequent. Nora flits around the apartment like she already owns it, making comments about potential nursery spaces and paint colors. My parents drop subtle hints, their concern for Nora growing louder than their sense of fairness. "She needs space, Mia," Mom says one evening. "A baby's coming." "So?" I counter. "I pay rent here. I contribute." Dad shifts uncomfortably. "Yes, but Nora's family, too." "So am I." My voice cracks, and the desperation in it surprises me. Why does she get everything handed to her while I have to fight for every inch? "It's not like that," Mom murmurs, eyes downcast. "You're strong. You can handle it." Ah, there it is, the unspoken rule. My strength is my punishment. Nora's helplessness is her weapon. I storm out before they can say more. The days that follow are a slow-motion nightmare. My parents bring up the apartment more often, their voices laced with guilt and obligation. Nora announces her pregnancy on social media with Liam by her side, both of them beaming as if they've accomplished something monumental. The comments flood in with congratulations and heart emojis. I stare at the post for a long time, the tightness in my chest unbearable. The final blow comes at a family dinner. I'm already on edge, sitting stiffly in my chair while Nora and Liam recount their baby name debates. My parents hang on every word as though choosing between Ava and Oliver is the world's most pressing decision. "It's funny," Nora says suddenly, turning to me with a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. "Mia never really fit in with us, did she? She's always been separate." Silence falls like a lead curtain. My mother's lips press together, and Dad stares at his plate. Liam chuckles under his breath. I feel the floor tilt beneath me. "What did you say?" I ask, voice trembling. "I mean," Nora shrugs, "you've always been so independent, so apart. It's like you've been living a different life from the rest of us." The words cut deeper than any insult. My independence, the thing I cling to for survival, has become my exile. My throat burns as I push my chair back. "Excuse me," I whisper. I don't make it past the front door before the tears spill over. Outside, the cold night air hits me like a slap. I gulp it down, desperate to steady myself. My phone buzzes with a notification. Nora's tagged me in a new post. I open it, my vision blurry. "Family dinner tonight, love my little circle, hashtag blessed, hashtag family first." My name is tagged, but I'm not in the picture. Just Nora, Liam, and my parents. I stare at the screen, the message crystal clear. I'm disposable, an outsider in my own family. The hurt morphs into something sharper, harder. My hand tightens around my phone. I will not let them push me out without a fight. They think I'm separate? I'll show them how strong separate can be. I wipe my tears and walk toward the bus stop. Tomorrow I'll work harder, save faster. And when I'm gone, they'll realize too late what they've lost. The moment my parents delivered their ultimatum, something inside me cracked. I sat on the living room couch, my hands clenched so tightly my nails bit into my palms. "You have 1 month," Dad said, avoiding my eyes. "Nora needs the space for the baby, and you can still help with the rent for a while. You have a steady job, she doesn't. It's the right thing to do." The right thing to do. That phrase echoed in my head for hours afterward. It was always the same argument. I was the older sister, the responsible one, the strong one. Nora was the fragile, needy child who deserved my sacrifice. My shoulders sagged under the weight of their expectations. They didn't see me. They never had. I lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. The apartment had been my haven, my proof that I could stand on my own. I'd built a life here from scratch. I paid the bills. I fixed the leaky faucet when it broke. I painted the walls when they faded. Now I was being told to hand it over to Nora, like passing down a hand-me-down sweater. The next morning, I made my decision. I wouldn't fight them. I wouldn't argue or beg for fairness. I would leave, but on my terms. I spent the next few weeks methodically dismantling my life in that apartment. Every evening after work, I packed boxes. I labeled each one with military precision: kitchen utensils, books, winter clothes. I disassembled the bookshelf I'd bought with my first paycheck. The couch went to a thrift store. The dishes were mine, so I packed them with care. I took the curtains, the rug, even the shower caddy. If I paid for it, it was mine. The day I moved out, I left behind hollow rooms with blank walls and exposed nails. The echoes of my footsteps followed me as I carried the last box to my car. I took one last look at the empty apartment that had once felt like home. As I drove away, my phone rang. Mom's name flashed on the screen. I hesitated, then answered. "Hello? Mia," she screeched. "What have you done?" "I moved out," I said, voice steady. "You left the place gutted. There's nothing here." "Everything I took, I bought," I said. "You wanted me out. I'm out." "Selfish," she hissed. "After all we've done for you, this is how you repay us?" I hung up. My hands trembled, but I kept driving. My new apartment was a tiny studio with peeling wallpaper and a view of a brick wall. I unpacked in silence, hanging clothes in a closet that smelled faintly of mothballs. The mattress lay on the floor, bare and uninviting. I sank onto it and stared at the cracked ceiling until exhaustion pulled me into a dreamless sleep. Work became my escape. I volunteered for extra projects, took on clients who demanded late nights and early mornings. My boss praised my dedication. Colleagues admired my work ethic. Inside, I felt numb. My phone buzzed constantly with family messages I ignored. Weeks passed. One evening, I came home to find an email from Nora. The subject line read, "Come meet your nephew." I opened it with a mixture of dread and curiosity. "Hey Mia, just wanted to let you know baby Oliver's here. You should totally come by and meet him. Bring something cute for the baby if you want." A photo was attached. Nora lay in a hospital bed, cradling a newborn. Liam stood beside her, grinning proudly. My parents hovered in the background, their smiles wide. I wasn't mentioned in the caption. The casual tone of the email infuriated me. No acknowledgement of what they'd done, no apology, just a breezy invitation as though we were close, loving sisters. I slammed the laptop shut and paced the apartment. They'd pushed me out and now expected me to play the doting aunt. The loneliness I'd been suppressing surged to the surface. I wanted to scream, to demand they see me. But I knew better. They never would. Instead, I opened my work laptop and buried myself in spreadsheets. The numbers blurred together, but I forced myself to focus. Work was the one thing I could control. My family had taken my home, but they wouldn't take my sense of self. The next morning, I woke with my laptop still open beside me. I closed it, stretched, and made coffee. The studio was silent, the walls thin enough to hear my neighbor's TV. It was a far cry from my grandmother's apartment, but it was mine, and for now, that was enough. The email sat there, bold and unopened, like a bomb waiting to detonate. I hovered my cursor over it, my heart thudding against my ribs. The subject line read, "Follow up for Mia, gift list." I already knew what was inside. Another demand from Nora. More baby items, more things to feed her endless sense of entitlement. I'd ignored the last two emails, hoping she'd get the hint. But Nora never took hints. I exhaled slowly and clicked. The list was exhaustive. Designer clothes, a high-end stroller, personalized nursery decorations. There was even a request for a gold-plated rattle. My chest tightened as I scrolled through the items. I had no obligation to fulfill these ridiculous demands. Yet the casual tone made it clear Nora expected me to. I was about to delete the email when I noticed the attachment, family plan, confidential. My curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. The email thread was between Nora and Jason. I skimmed the first few lines and felt the blood drain from my face. Nora had laid out a plan, step-by-step instructions on how to alienate me from my parents and solidify her position as the family's center. Mia's too independent, Nora wrote. She doesn't value family the way we do. If we keep planting seeds of doubt, Mom and Dad will eventually see she's not trustworthy. Once she's out of the picture, they'll rely on us completely. Jason's reply was short. Makes sense, as long as I don't have to pay for anything. My hands trembled as I reread the messages. The manipulation hadn't been paranoia on my part. It had been orchestrated. My sister had plotted to turn our parents against me. And Jason? He didn't care as long as he could skate by without contributing. For a long time, I just sat there, staring at the screen. My mind raced through every argument every time my parents questioned my dedication to the family. All those doubts hadn't grown naturally, they'd been planted. I considered deleting the email and pretending I never saw it. Exposing Nora would tear my family apart even more than she already had. But leaving the truth buried would mean letting her win. I couldn't do that. With a deep breath, I forwarded the thread to my mom with a single line. You need to see this. The guilt was immediate. My finger hovered over the unsend button, but it was too late. The message was gone. The next few days were a blur. I expected an immediate response, but none came. I went to work, came home, and checked my phone obsessively. Nothing. Then, 3 days later, my phone rang. Mom's name appeared on the screen. Hello? I answered, voice shaking. Mia, she whispered. I don't know what to say. You read it? Yes, your father and we had no idea. Nora told us so many things about you. We thought we were protecting the family. Tears stung my eyes. You believed her. I know, she said, voice cracking. We were wrong. We were so wrong. She's drained our savings, Mia. We took out loans to help with the baby. Now we have nothing left. I closed my eyes, guilt gnawing at me despite everything. I'm sorry, I said softly. Can you help us, just until we get back on our feet? The question hit me like a slap. After everything, they were asking me to fix it. No, I said, forcing the word out. I can't. I won't. Mia, please, she begged. We need you. You needed me when you gave Nora the apartment, when you asked me to pay rent while she lived here for free. I was family then. Now you want me back to clean up her mess? Her silence said everything. I'm sorry, I repeated, though this time the words felt like a stone lodged in my throat. I can't help you. If you walk away, Mom said, her tone hardening, you're no longer our daughter. I squeezed my eyes shut. I dreamed of hearing my parents admit their mistake, of seeing the truth about Nora, but I'd never imagined it would end with an ultimatum like this. Goodbye, Mom, I whispered and ended the call. I sat on the floor of my tiny apartment, the phone still in my hand. The weight of the conversation pressed down on me. The family I'd fought so hard to be part of was gone, or maybe it had never really been mine to begin with. Days later, I reopened the email thread. I read Nora's words again, each line a twisted reflection of the past few years. My heart ached for what could have been. I hovered over the trash icon but didn't click it. This wasn't over. I shut my laptop and stood up. My reflection stared back at me from the dark screen, tired but resolute. I'd chosen myself. For once, I'd chosen me. Outside, the city hummed with life. I opened the window and let the cold air wash over me. I couldn't predict what came next, but I knew one thing. I'd never again sacrifice my sense of self to belong to people who never truly saw me. The news about Nora came through a text message from Mom. It was short, blunt, and entirely unlike her usual long-winded attempts to guilt me back into the fold. Nora's scheme collapsed. Liam left. She's homeless. Just thought you'd want to know. I stared at the screen, the weight of the words pressing into my chest. Nora, homeless. The sister who'd always manipulated her way into comfort, who'd twisted our parents' love into financial dependency, had finally run out of strings to pull. I should have felt vindicated, maybe even satisfied. Instead, there was only a dull ache. The next day, my phone rang. It was Nora. Mia? Her voice was cracked, stripped of the usual superiority. I need your help. My grip on the phone tightened. Help? Like the help you gave me when you pushed me out of the apartment? I'm sorry, she said quickly. I messed up, but the baby, he needs a place to stay. Please. Oliver, my nephew. I'd never met him. I thought of the photos Nora had posted, of the round-cheeked infant with Liam's eyes. The maternal instinct I'd never admitted to flared for a moment before I extinguished it. No, I said. You need to learn what it means to clean up your own mess. I can't be your safety net. She sobbed on the other end. Please. Mom and Dad cut me off. Liam's gone. I have no one. I know what that feels like, I said softly. And I survived. You will too. I hung up, my hand trembling. The guilt was sharp but familiar. I'd spent my whole life shouldering other people's burdens. This time, I wouldn't. The aftermath of Nora's fall unraveled like a soap opera. Liam packed his bags and moved back to his parents' house. Apparently, he'd hit his limit after Nora tried convincing him to co-sign another loan. His mother, a woman with a reputation for strictness, welcomed him back with open arms and zero tolerance for irresponsibility. As for Nora, she had no choice but to follow Liam. His parents let her move in on the condition that she adhere to their household rules: early mornings, chores, and no more extravagant spending. I imagined her scrubbing floors while her designer shoes collected dust in a corner. The irony would have been amusing if it weren't so tragic. Meanwhile, I buried myself in work. The marketing firm promoted me to senior strategist after I landed a major client. I poured my energy into presentations and campaigns, staying late and working weekends. The empty studio apartment grew familiar, even comforting, but the silence weighed heavier with each passing day. On a whim, I adopted a rescue dog from a local shelter. Tucker was a scrappy terrier mix with mismatched ears and soulful eyes. He followed me from room to room, filling the space with soft footsteps and unconditional affection. One evening, as I sat on the couch scratching Tucker's ears, a knock sounded at the door. My stomach flipped. No one ever visited me unannounced. I peeked through the peephole and saw a delivery person holding a small box. "Happy birthday," the courier said, handing me the package. I didn't remember telling anyone about my birthday. My hands shook as I opened the box. Inside was a wooden picture frame. The photograph was old, slightly faded but familiar. Nora and me, sitting side by side on Grandma's porch. We must have been 6 and 4, our faces smeared with popsicle juice, laughing at something out of frame. Tucked into the corner was a note written in my mother's neat handwriting. "We're sorry. We miss you. Love, Mom and Dad." I traced the curve of the letters, emotions swirling in my chest. Regret, sadness, a flicker of hope. I set the frame on the bookshelf and stepped onto the balcony, Tucker at my feet. The city stretched out below me, bathed in the pink hues of dawn. The apartment was mine. The life was mine. I'd fought for this independence, earned it with every tear and betrayal. And yet, as the sunrise painted the sky with soft gold, I wondered if one day I'd be ready to let my family back in. You know, if there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's that true independence isn't just about living alone or paying your own bills. It's about respecting yourself enough to set boundaries, even when it hurts. Love should never come at the cost of your self-worth. It doesn't demand endless sacrifice. It requires mutual respect, honesty, and accountability. And sometimes the hardest thing you can do is walk away from those you love to protect the person you're becoming. Thank you for sharing this journey with me. If you enjoyed the story, please support this channel by liking the video and subscribing so you won't miss more heartfelt stories from everyday life. Until next time, take care and cherish the relationships that uplift you.